Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. For those of you who are watching me for the very first time, my name is James Ambroise, and on this channel we'll cover how to pay off debt faster than any other debt repayment method out there. We'll cover basic bookkeeping and accounting for someone who just started out a small business. We'll cover basic personal income tax to include a Schedule C, Schedule E, depreciation. I am also the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Real quick about my credentials, I have been or am a bookkeeper and accountant, QuickBooks Pro advisor, senior tax advisor, residential real estate investor, residential property manager, financial coach. And as always, before we get started with what's on the board, please allow me to shout out the name Jesus, my Lord, my God, my Creator. Thank you. All right, America, on the board we have this hypothetical scenario of somebody who filled out one of my Microsoft Excel worksheets, and the person provided me with these figures. For that, this person has a USA credit card, Navy Federal credit card. Okay. Credit limit 9,000, APR 31.15%, balance owed $8,640, monthly payments charged $310.68. Availability, America, we've learned from lesson one that the availability is the relationship between the credit limit and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation, 9,000 minus $8,640. That's how we arrive at 360. Okay. Credit utilization. Credit utilization is the relationship between the balance owed and the credit limit. That relationship calls for a division operation, $8,640 divided by $9,000. That's how we arrive at 96%. Okay. Payment rate charge. Payment rate charge is the relationship between the monthly payments charge and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a division operation, $310.68 divided by $8,640. That's how we arrive at 3.60%. Okay. Now on a USA credit card, right now USA is not currently offering any balance transfers, okay, promotions. On the Navy Federal credit card, right now Navy Federal is not currently offering any balance transfer promotions, and the monthly payment has to be $20 or an overall flat fee of 2.25% of the balance owed, whichever is greater. Okay. Now we're doing the scenario for a single mom. Her income, she's on a bi-weekly pay period, so she get paid on the 7th. The next paycheck will come 14 days later on the 21. Okay. The total for the two paycheck after tax is $6,288.68. Her expenses $6,186.68. The expense, that's when we add all the amount that we have on the board, every single one of them. Okay. Now, out of these expenses, America, $3,491 could go on a credit card. Okay. These are the expenses that could go on a credit card. Electricity could go on a credit card. Water could go on a credit card. YouTube TV could go on a credit card. Netflix could go on a credit card. Cell phone, groceries, fuel, dining out restaurant, beauty and skincare, clothes and shoes, they all could go on a credit card. And when we add them up, the total $3,491. Okay, her debt $8,662. The debt, that's when you add all the balances that we have on the board, $8,640 plus $22. That's how we arrive at $8,662. Okay. Her cash flow, America, remember from prior lesson that cash flow is the relationship between the income and the expense. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation, $6,288.68 minus $6,186.68. That's how we'll have $102 in cash flow. All right. All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to start with the exercise. All right, America. Now let's pay attention to the balance owed column for Navy Federal. Navy Federal balance owed America is only $22. Meanwhile, her cash flow is $102. So with the cash flow, she could easily pay off the Navy Federal $22. Okay? But just like I mentioned to you guys from a prior lesson, do not pay off the Navy Federal because the Navy Federal is at 15%. Okay? Looks like for some times, she's been paying off the lowest balance, the lowest balance, the lowest balance. And again, the lower balance account is at 15%, which is a disadvantage. Okay? Because for some time she has been working on the wrong account. Okay? Why would you be working on an account that's charging you 15%, an account that's not hurting you much, compared to another one, the USAA, where they are charging you 31.15%. Okay? A difference of, let's see, 31.15 minus 15%. Let's see, 0, 5, 5, 0, 1, 1, 5, 11, 6, 2, 2 to 3, 1. A difference of 16.15%. Okay? So, which is one of the worst things you could do. Okay? Especially after you guys have already learned to relocate balances from one account to another. So there's really no need at all for her, to be attacking lower balance, because it looks like, again, for some time she's been attacking lowest balance, lowest balance, lowest balance. Okay? And again, folks, we could easily move balances from one account to another on our method. Okay? So there's no need to be attacking lower balance, lower balance account that is on a low APR, okay, which is a disadvantage. Okay? But instead, we're going to take advantage of the availability from the lower balance account. Okay? In order for us to facilitate our transfer. All right? Now, remember, America, that Ambroise Method called for a series of steps. And those steps have to be taken at least once a month. And the step, for those of you who missed that lesson, segregate, compare, transfer. And on our method, America, we have all different type of transfer. We have a normal balance transfer. For our purpose, America, that's a transfer between same account type. For example, a revolving credit account with another revolving credit account. Mix and match balance transfer. Again, for our method, for our purpose, a mix and match balance transfer is a transfer between different account types. For example, a revolving credit account and an installment credit account. Okay. Then we have artificial type of balance transfers. For those of you who missed that lesson, an artificial type of balance transfer is unconventional, creative ways of executing balance transfers without the help of the big creditors. And we have several of them. We have plastic, which is an artificial type of balance transfer, Melio, similar entities, Ambroise charge pay technique inducement, Ambroise charge pay technique normal. Okay? Then we repeat the process. There might be some conditions, some exceptions, some restriction to the strategy. And then we have to answer these questions. Can we use cash flow, or can we make a large payment? And then we have to answer the what, WHT. W, which account or accounts to use, H, how much of a payment to send, and T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay? And again, I'm working on the steps: segregate, compare, transfer, repeat, cash flow, large payment, and then we have to answer the what, WHT. W, which account to use, H, how much of a payment to send to these accounts, and T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay. And again, folks, these are the steps for Ambroise method, and those steps have to be taken at least once a month. Okay. All right, America. Now let's segregate. The way we segregate America, we segregate by same account type. That's looking at the list of debt, and I try to have my revolving credit account on top and my installment credit account at the bottom. USA credit card, that's a credit card, so that's revolving credit account. Navy Federal, that's another credit card, that's revolving credit account. So we only have two revolving credit accounts. We do not have any installments. Okay. So as far as segregations, the list is perfect. Okay. Next, America, we compare. And the way we compare by APR between account types, where we only have one account type, revolving credit accounts on the board. Okay. And the way I like to compare, I like to list the higher APR on top and the lower APR at the bottom. So 31.15 is higher or bigger than 15, so 31.15% is listed first. Okay. And when we compare in America, we try to identify the enemy. We try to identify the troublemaker. In this example, the account with the higher APR is the enemy. The account with the higher APR is the troublemaker. So for that reason, USA is the enemy. USA is the troublemaker. Okay. Next, America, we transfer. And the way we transfer, we always try to relocate balances from a debt that has a higher APR to a debt that has a lower APR. Okay, we're always trying to relocate these balances. Okay, so we're gonna try to relocate some of that $8,640, and we're gonna try to dump it into the Navy Federal. Okay, for maximum interest savings. Okay, because we don't want 8640 at 3115, so we're gonna try to move some of that 8640. We'll much rather pay 15% instead of 31%. That's why we're trying to relocate these balances. Okay. All right. And today, America, we're gonna be employing one of our artificial type of balance transfers. And today we'll be employing Ambroise's charge pay technique normal. Okay. And let me put that on the board real quick for those of you who missed that lesson. Ambroise's charge pay technique normal. Okay, because remember we have two variations of this. We have normal and inducement. Today we're going to be dealing with the normal one. Okay, and again, for those of you who missed that lesson, Ambroise's charge pay technique normal is a technique where you charge the lower APR account. Okay, and the lower APR account is Navy Federal. And you pay the higher APR account, and the higher APR account is USA. Okay, with available cash on hand. Okay, so charge, lower APR account, pay higher APR account, hence the name Ambroise's charge pay technique. And it doesn't matter which one comes first, whether you charge first or whether you pay first, doesn't matter which sequence or which order. Okay, Just like we name in Ambroise charge pay technique, we could also name in Ambroise pay charge technique. So it doesn't matter the sequence or the order. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to try to take advantage of the availability from the Navy Federal credit card. Okay? But on the example, Navy Federal is not offering any balance transfers. Okay? So this is why we're going to employ Ambroise's charge pay technique, an artificial type of balance transfers, because on our method, America, we are not handicapped by what the big bank, the big creditors could do for us. Even though Navy Federal is not offering balance transfers, America, we could still execute our own balance transfers without the help of the big bank, the big creditors. Okay? And today, again, like I said, we're going to employ Ambroise's charge pay technique normal. Okay? And each time, America, that you're doing one of these artificial type of balance transfer where it costs you nothing, 0% in fees, okay? You are taking away from the big bank, the big creditors, an important source of revenue, okay? Now, under a traditional way of paying off debt, you'll be using your checking account. Put that down below. Using your checking account and pay these bills, okay? And send them to those bills. So checking account to the bills or expenses. Okay. Okay. But when we're using Ambroise's charge pay technique, it's gonna be from the checking account. This is pay. This time we're going to pay, instead of from the checking account to pay the bills, this time from the checking account to pay the higher APR account. So it'll be from checking account to USA, which is the higher APR account. Okay. Okay. And we're going to charge the lower APR account with those bills. So it's going to be Navy Federal. Gonna then pay the bills and expenses. Okay. You see that? Okay. Okay. So the traditional way, will be from the checking account, then you pay those bills, those expenses with funds available from the checking account. But when we're employing it was this charge pay technique, so we're going to pay the higher APR account, in this case USAA, then we're going to charge the lower APR account with these bills. Okay? And earlier we identified that $3,491 could go on a credit card. So we're going to charge the credit card $3,491, okay? Which means we're going to pay the USA $3,491, okay? That's the difference, okay? The traditional way, from checking account, and you send the payment to those bills. That will be about $3,491. But when we're employing Ambroise charge pay technique, checking account, instead of paying the bills or expenses for $3,400, instead we're gonna pay the higher APR account, okay, which is USA, okay. Now the bill still hasn't gotten paid. Okay, so we're gonna use the lower APR account. Okay, we're gonna charge it, so we're gonna pay the bills with the lower APR account. Okay. All right. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay. So right now, let's run Ambroise Method. Right now, the paycheck has not come in yet, so we're going to leave USA alone for now. Credit limit 9,000. APR 3115. Okay. Balance owed $8,640. Monthly payments charged $310.68. Availability 360. Because remember, the paycheck has not started coming in yet, so we cannot pay USA as of yet. Okay. Credit utilization 96%. Payment rate charge 3.60%. Okay. All right. Next, Navy Federal. Credit limit 5,000. APR 15%. Balance owed. Now we could charge the Navy Federal anytime. So on paper, we're gonna charge the Navy Federal, okay, for bills, expenses that could go on a credit card. And earlier we identified that the total for those bills, those expenses, that could go on a credit card. The total is $3,491. So we're gonna charge the Navy Federal $3,491. So we're gonna put all those bills on the Navy Federal. Okay. The ones that could go on a credit card. Navy, 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 and Navy. Okay. So for that reason, Navy Federal balance will get increased by $3,491. Okay. So it will be $3,491 plus $22. So Navy Federal balance now will be $3,513. Okay. Monthly payments charge. Navy Federal is charging $20 minimum and overall flat fee of 2.25%. So $3,513 times 2.25%. So monthly payment charge is $79.04. And $79.04 is greater than $20, so we're gonna go with $79.04. Okay. Availability is credit limit minus balance owed. So 5,000 minus $3,513. Okay. So we at $1,487. Okay. Credit utilization is balance owed divided by credit limit. So 3513 divided by 5,000. Okay. 5,100. I'm sorry. So we at 68.88%. Okay, this one needs to be 5,100. And the payment rate charge, we did say it would be 2.25%, but let's run it just for good measure. Payment rate charge is monthly payment charge, $79.04, divided by balance owed, $3,513. So we are at 2.25%. Okay? All right. So far, we've only done the charge part where we charge Navy Federal. Okay? We haven't paid yet, okay? Because the paycheck has not started coming in yet. Okay? All right. Now, is the opportunity for us, America, to repeat the transfer. Okay, well, we only have two accounts, and we've dealt with Navy Federal so far already. Okay, so now, America, that we are done with all of the items that are above the line. There goes the line. Okay, we cannot do any more transfer. Okay, so all the items that are above the line had been completely exhausted. Okay. So now we could go downstairs, we could go below the line. And below the line, we have to answer some questions. Okay? Can we use cash flow or can we make a large payment? Okay? Single mom during this period did not receive any income tax refund. She did not receive any bonus checks. She did not receive any additional funds or money that would represent or constitute a large payment. So there are no large payment. So in this case, we're going to be dealing with cash flow. Okay. So now on paper, let's try to figure out how much our new cash flow will be. Okay. Because remember, when we employ Ambroise charge pay technique, we've only done one leg of it, just the charge part. We haven't done the pay part yet. Okay. So now, in the way we determine our cash flow, we take a look at the original monthly payments charge minus the new monthly payments charge. Or we can only do transaction for the account that were affected. Well, USA 310.68 stays 310.68. Navy Federal $20 changes from 20 to 79.04. So the only account truly that got affected was the Navy Federal. Okay, so you'll be $20 minus 79.04. Okay, so on paper, looks like our cash flow got decreased by $59.04. Okay, which means now that our new cash flow is, okay, originally it was 102, it got decreased by 5904 on paper. So now we're at 42.96. Okay. All right. So now we've determined what our cash flow is. So now let's answer the rest of the questions. W, which account or accounts to use. Okay. America, on our method, we have two different type of users. Okay. We have what we call a normal user, and we have what we call an advanced user. Okay. All right. A normal user remember, America, when you're paying off debt, you're gonna come across three main elements, three main assignments, three main jobs. And these elements, these assignments, these jobs are transfer, alternative account, and cash flow. Okay. Okay. Now, for a normal user takes advantage of transfer, takes advantage of cash flow. Okay. An advanced user on our method take full advantage of everything that we have on the board. An advanced user uses transfer, an advanced user uses alternative account, an advanced user takes advantage of cash flow. Okay? So that's the main difference between the two. Normal user does not utilize the alternative account. An advanced user utilizes an alternative account. And a normal user will use the regular checking account to pay off debt. Okay? So, for a normal user, after you've done all the transfers, okay? So all the transfer has completely been exhausted. Cannot do any more transfer, okay? then you're going to try to take advantage of cash flow. Now, as the income start coming in for a normal user, America, you're going to dump all the income into the checking account. Okay? Then you're going to use the checking account to pay off debt. Okay? Okay. Any excess of money left over will go towards the account that has the higher APR. In this case, any excess will go to USA. Okay? All right. That's for a normal user. But right now we're doing a scenario for an advanced user. Okay? And for an advanced user, America, we're always trying to identify three main accounts. Okay? The account for first in line, or the account that offer greater results. That's one. The next account we look for an advanced user is next in line, or the account for greater liquidity. That's two. And the third and final account is the alternative account for movements of income and movements of expenses. Okay, so that'll be the third and final one. Okay. So now, let's identify our first in line, or the account for greater results. Okay, in terms of reducing interest costs. Well, the account that we use for greater results in terms of reducing interest costs is generally the account with a higher APR. Well, USA is at 31.15%, Navy Federal is at 15%. Okay? So the higher APR account is USA at 31.15%. So USA will be the account for greater results. Next, America, is the account, the next in line account, or the account for greater liquidity. Okay. Well, USA is a credit card, and we did say that the bills, expenses that could go on the credit card were only $3,491. So, for the credit card couldn't cover everything, okay, because the expenses were a lot higher. So because the credit card was limited, credit card cannot offer us greater liquidity. Okay? Same thing, Navy Federal. Navy Federal is also a credit card. And again, only $3,491 could go on a credit card when the expenses are a lot higher. So Navy Federal is also a credit card, could not offer a greater liquidity. So for that reason, America, we're going to use our regular checking account for liquidity. And the third and final account for an advanced user is the alternative account for movements of income and movements of expenses. Okay? And the account that we generally use for movements of income for movements of income and movement of expenses is generally the account with the higher APR. Well, between these two alternative accounts, the one with the higher APR is USA. So now, America, we have our three accounts for an advanced user. Okay. Now, when we take a look at the list, we have USA for greater results in terms of reducing interest cost, because when you send payment to the higher APR, you achieve greater results. Okay. We have the checking account for liquidity, for greater liquidity. Then we have USA again for movements of income and movement of expenses. So we have USA at two separate places. Okay. For that reason, we're not going to use this USA, so we're going to take it off the board. In America, generally, we look for these three accounts. The only time we don't use one is when we have redundancy. We already had USA on the list. Okay. All right, so now that we've determined our accounts, so let's figure out our numbers. Okay. USA regular monthly payment is $310.68. Okay. on a credit card slash pay portion. Then we have other bills, other remainder bills that could not go on a credit card. Okay. And we have cash flow. Then we might have absorption or absorption opportunity. And this here will be the total. Okay. All right. Okay. So the regular monthly payment for USA is $310.68 on paper. Okay. Bills that could go on a credit card or slash pay portions, because remember earlier we charged the Navy Federal so we could later on pay the USA. So and we did say the bills expenses that could go on a credit card slash pay portion is $3,491. Okay. All right. Other remainder bills that could not go on a credit card, let's skip that for now. And cash flow, remember America, that cash flow is better served in the account that has the higher APR. Well, between USA and Navy Federal, USA has the higher APR. And again, folks, when you send payment to the higher APR, you achieve greater results in terms of reducing interest costs. So that is why cash flow is going to go to the higher APR. And we did say on paper that our cash flow is $42.96. Absorption, let's do absorption alone for now. Okay. All right. So let's figure out the remainder bills that could not go on a credit card. Okay. Remember, single mom total income will be $6,288.68. So you'll be $6,288.68 minus all these amounts. $310.68 minus 3,491 minus 42.96. Okay. So other remainder bills that could not go on a credit card, they are $2,444.04. Okay. All right. And for absorption, today we're not going to have anything in the absorption column. All right. So now let's figure out our total. 310.68 for USA plus 3491 plus 4296. Okay. Total for USA will be $3,844.64. Okay. Which means now that the checking account will keep $2,444.04. Okay. All right. Going back to the questions, which account? So we're going to be using USA and the checking account for which account? It will be USA and the checking account. How much of a payment to send to this account? For USA, we're going to send $3,844.64, and the checking account $2,444.04. Okay. And the last and final questions, to pay down or off which debt? That will be the workflow. Now, remember, single mom gets paid on the 7th and on the 21, and the total is $6,288.68. So for the paycheck that comes on the 7th, let's assume these two paychecks are equal. So $6,288.68 divided by 2, 628,868. So we're at on the first paycheck, $3,144.34. Okay. And on the second paycheck that comes on the 21st, also gonna be $3,144.34. Okay. So now, America, the paycheck touched down the checking account. So where does the money go? Okay. So this is when, America, you have to pay attention to the due date, especially for bills, expenses that you need cash or cash equivalent for. Okay. Well, let's take a look. Electricity is due on the 28th. This one has to go on a credit card, so that's towards the end of the month, so that's not going to create any problem for us. Water, 28th, end of the month, no problem. You took TV, 28th, end of the month, that's not going to create any problem for us. Netflix is due on the 28th, and again, as part of our prep work, she already moved all these bills towards the end of the month, so that's not going to create any problem for her. Cell phone, again, end of the month, not going to create any problem. Groceries do not have does not have a due date, so she could decide to do her groceries towards the end of the month. Fuel does not have a due date, so she could decide to put fuel in a vehicle once a week, and the fuel will go on a credit card. Okay, Navy Federal will take care of that, because remember, we charged the Navy Federal. Okay. Dining out, again, restaurant, so she could decide to go to the restaurant towards the end of the month. Okay. Beauty and skincare, she could decide to do her shopping for beauty and skincare towards the end of the month. So that's not going to create any problem for us. Clothes and shoes, and again, she could shop for her clothes and shoes towards the end of the month, so we won't have any issue on that alternative account, okay? Which is the Navy Federal in that case, because we are charging the Navy Federal, okay? Allowance for her daughter is due on the 28th. This one you need cash, okay? Cash for it, it's $90, okay? So you need cash for that one. So the checking account should be able to take care of that. But it's towards the end of the month, so that's not going to create any problem for us. Prepaid college is due on the 26th. $115. And this prepaid college is for the benefit of her daughter. And that's an item that you need cash for. So the checking account will take care of that. But it's towards the end of the month, so that shouldn't create any problem for us. Her car insurance is due on the 26th, and again, that's towards the end of the month, and for car insurance, you need cash for, so the checking account will take care of that, okay? Her house rent is due on the 10th. Now, this one's gonna create a little problem for us because it's due, it's not towards the end of the month. It's on the 10th. So the paycheck on the 7th will take care of everything between the 7th through the 20th. Okay. And the paycheck on the 21 will take care of everything from the 21 towards the end of the month. Okay. So this house rent is due on the 10th for $2,000. So we have to take care of the house rent on the first paycheck, because 10 is between 7 and 20, okay? So now we have to reserve $2,000 for the house rent on the first paycheck. So that checking account, we have to reserve at least $2,000, okay? All right? USA is doing the 28th. That's towards the end of the month, so that's not gonna create any problem for us. Okay. And Navy Federal is doing the 28th. Again, that's towards the end of the month. That's not gonna create any problem for us. So the two main account we're dealing with is USA and checking account. So USA will take care of its own. So USA will take care of that. And Navy Federal, the checking account, will take care of the Navy Federal. Okay? Because we cannot pay a credit card with another credit card. So we cannot use USA to pay Navy Federal. We have to use the checking account to pay Navy Federal. Okay? All right. Which means now all our bills are accounted for. Okay? The only one we had to take care of on the first paycheck was this house rent due on the 10th. So we're gonna reserve that 2,000, like I aforementioned, in the checking account. Okay. So which means now that the remainder will go to the account that offer greater results. So that will be USA. Okay. Remember, total paycheck will be $3,144.34 minus $2,000. Okay. So USA will keep $1,144.34 on the first paycheck. Okay. Now on the next paycheck, America, which is on the 21st, $3,144 touched down the checking account. Where does the money go? Okay. Okay. The checking account needs to receive total $2,444.04. Okay. Checking account received 2,000 so far, so it'll be 2,044.04 minus $2,000. So now the checking account will receive the remainder, $444.04. Okay? Which means now USA, remember USA needs to have total 3,844.64. So 3,844.64 minus 1,144.34. Okay. So 2,730 cents. Okay. And when we add these two up, we should arrive at that number. So let's run it just for good measure. 444.04 plus 2,700.30. Sure enough, $3,144.34. Okay, so our numbers are perfect. Okay, we know how much needs to go to which account. We know how much needs to go to which account per paycheck. Okay, all right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. Now, let's quickly compare cash flow versus balance transfers. Because we know there are some debt repayment methods that uses cash flow only, mainly debt snowball and debt avalanche. Okay? So let's see how debt snowball will do. Let's start with debt snowball. Okay? Debt snowball wants to attack the lower balance. In this case, the lowest balance is the Navy Federal $22. Okay? And the original cash flow was $102. So after they pay off this low balance, $22, there will still be a remainder balance because cash flow is 102. So it'll be 102 minus 22. So we have 80 bucks. Okay? Because remember the total is 102. Okay? All right? So they'll send cash flow to the lower balance. So in essence, they'll knock out this $22 and zero out that balance. Okay? And on the lower balance, they are charging 15%. So in essence, they'll be saving 15%. So it'll be $22. And let's keep our math simple, okay? To make our computation a little easier. So 22 bucks at 15% divided by 12, okay? And the remainder 80 bucks will go to the next account, okay? Well, we only have two accounts, so the next account will be USA. So the 8640 will get reduced by 80 bucks. So in the process, they'll save what they charge on the other account. And so on the other account, they're charging 31.15%. So they'll save what they are charging you on the other account, 31.15%. Okay. Divided by 12. Okay. So let's see real quick how much money debt snowball will save. Okay. It'll be $22 times 15% divided by 12. So on the first portion, that snowball would save 0.28 for the month. And on the second portion, 80 bucks times 31, 15%. And we're using a simple calculation just to keep things a little easier. Divided by 12 will be $2.08. So that snowball combined will save $2.08 plus 0.28. Combined $2.36, okay, for the month. Okay, so that was that snowball. Then we have another debt repayment group, like I mentioned earlier, debt avalanche, that also uses cash flow. So debt avalanche. And this group wants to send cash flow to the higher APR account. So on a higher APR account, they're charging 31.15%. So when you send payment to the higher APR account, you are saving what they are charging you. So 102 times 31.15%. Divided by 12. Okay. So for that avalanche, it'll be 102 times 15%, 31.15% divided by 12. $2. $2.65. Okay, for the month. Okay, and remember earlier we done a transfer because we're comparing cash flow with balance transfer. Okay. Earlier we've done a transfer where we moved 3,491. We relocate that amount from the higher APR and we dump it onto the lower APR. So let's figure out how much the transfer we're able to save for doing a transfer. So USAA, and again we moved 3,491. Okay, 3,491 times, and USA was charging 31.15% divided by 12. Let's run that real quick. 3,491 times 31.15% divided by 12. So 90, 62. And remember, we relocated to the lower APR account, which was Navy Federal. Okay. Same 3,491. We relocated to the Navy Federal, and the Navy Federal is charging 15%. Okay. Divided by 12. Okay. 3,491 times 15% divided by 12. So we are at 43.64. Okay. So let's see what the difference is. 90.62 minus 43.64. We are at 46.98. And interest savings for the month. Okay. All right, America. Now, and again, we're comparing cash flow versus balance transfer. Okay. In the case of that snowball, okay, they will be saving the depressing $2.36 for the month. In the case of that avalanche, they'll do slightly better than that snowball. They'll save still a depressing $2.65 for the month. Okay. Meanwhile, just for doing transfer in the USAA, if we left $3,491 inside the USAA, it would have cost us $90.62. But once we move it to Navy Federal, it only cost us $43.64. Okay? So we're saving that difference, and the difference is $46.98. So America, which one would you rather have? Going for that repayment method, that will save you $2.36 for the month. And another one that'll save you $2.65 for the month respectively, versus just doing transfer, where you'll save $46.98 for the month. So in this particular example, balance transfer is more beneficial to do. You'll save more doing balance transfer. And just like I mentioned from a past lesson, remember on our method, cash flow and transfer, they are not in competition with each other. On our method, we have both. Remember, we have the tag on our method. Transfer, alternative account, and cash flow. We have both. We have transfer and we have cash flow. They are not in competition on our method. Okay? But if they were in competition, transfer will be more beneficial to do. And again, $46.98 versus $2.36, $2.36. $46.98 versus $2.65. Okay. So on our method, America, even as a normal user, because remember, a normal user takes advantage of transfer, takes advantage of cash flow. Okay. You still will do better than a debt snowball. You still will do better than a debt avalanche, even as a normal user. Okay. And a normal user does not use alternative accounts. Okay. Now, you know if they cannot do better than our worst option, so they definitely won't be able to compete with our advanced user. Okay. Now, in the case of velocity banking, well, in this example, there's no E-lock, P-lock, B-lock. We only have 2 credit cards. Okay? So it'll be kind of hard. Well, since we only have 2 accounts, maybe in that particular example, they're not going to ask their client to go apply for a new trade line, because these guys, this group, a lot of times they want their client to apply for a new trade line for E-lock, P-lock, B-lock. Okay? But since we only have like 2 accounts, okay, let's assume that they'll run velocity banking on one of these accounts. Okay. So it'll be, because it's a credit card now, okay, they cannot put the entire expense on a credit card. So it has to be only a amount that could go on a credit card plus cash flow. So for them, it'll be like income comes in. So the income in this case will be the expense $34.91 plus cash flow. Okay, because remember, whichever account that they use as their debt weapon, that account will also keep cash flow, because these folks, they practice what I refer to as favoritism. Okay, so the total income in there for velocity banking will be $34.91 plus 102. So the total income will be $35.93. So that'll be the income coming in, and then expenses will go out for them. Okay. And the expense will be on the amount that could go on a credit card now. Because it cannot be the entire thing. Okay. Because you have to reserve cash to pay some of these other items. Okay. So, and the expense will be $34.91. Okay. That's how we arrive at, because remember, that account will keep the cash flow, so that's how we arrive at that 102. Okay. So income goes in, expenses goes out. Okay. So at the end of it all, when I run the numbers, they'll save roughly less than 35 bucks for the month. After they run the numbers, behind the scene, I run the numbers, you'll be about 35 bucks in savings for the month. Even in this particular example, transfer by employing Ambroise's charge pay technique was still doing better than them. 35 bucks versus 46.98. Okay. let's give them a little boost. Let's say they'll save $40 for the month. Okay? Even at $40, we're at 46.98. Okay, for this particular example. Okay, so for this particular example, transfer is even more beneficial to do than somebody running velocity banking on one of those credit cards. Okay, their saving will be somewhere between 34 to $40. Okay. All right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look what's on the board, and then we're going to start to continue with the exercise. Now, earlier we employed Ambroise charge pay technique where we charge the Navy Federal and then we're gonna pay the USA. Okay. The payment that needs to go to USA, the total payment is $3,844.64. Okay. The balance on the USA is $86.40. So it'll be for USA, it'll be $86.40 minus the total payment, $3,844.06 and 64 cents. So the USA, America, will have a remainder balance after everything's said and done of 86.40 minus $3,844.06 and 64 cents. So USA, after the payment is finally posted, the USA will have a remainder balance of $4,795.36. Okay. And we know that since the balance now is lower, which means the monthly payments charge will be lower. Okay. All right. And on the following month, because remember, in this example, on the following month, you could employ again Ambroise's charge pay technique, where you reduce that $4,795.36 by at least another $3,491. Okay? Because remember, we run these steps at least once a month. Okay? So in about 2 months, let's see, 4,795.36. Not only is going to get reduced by 3,491, which is bills, expenses that could go on a credit card / pay portion. Okay. Then whatever the new regular monthly payment will be, plus whatever the new cash flow will be on paper. Okay. So the USA will get reduced quite a bit. Okay. In just 2 months. And again, folks, we do not need to be attacking lower balance. Okay, you need to take advantage of the availability from the lower balance. Okay, especially when you know how to relocate balances from one account to another. So there is no need at all to be attacking lowest balance account, lowest balance account, lowest balance account. Okay, that offer you a lot of disadvantage because in this particular example, the lower balance account was at a low APR, not a high APR. So in essence, every time you send a payment to the lower balance, you're only saving what they're charging you. Okay, 15%. And again, folks, you need to take advantage instead of the availability from the lower balance account. Okay. That is why we have all different type of transfers on our method. Okay. This is how you save the most interest. This is how you save more on interest cost. Constantly, America, perpetually try to relocate balances from higher APR to lower APR. Constantly, perpetually. Each and every month, if there's opportunity for you to do transfer, you continue to do transfers. And I've already proven to you guys why transfer is more beneficial to do than using just cash flow in this particular example. Okay? Well, in every example, really, because you'll be whatever the cash flow is plus transfer, because we do both. We have transfer and cash flow. Okay? All right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. Again, constantly, perpetually trying to relocate balances from higher APR to lower APR. That's how you save more on interest cost. Okay, in addition to all the other things that we do. Okay. All right, America. I think that's it for me today. Again, my name is James Ambroise. I am the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Thank you, Jesus. Until next time, America. Good morning.